Okay, hey Sharon, for roll call, could you just share who all's in the room there? We can see who's online.
Yeah, we can just go around. Joe's here. Take it from there. Come on the table and say who's here.
Joe Water, CEO.
Brent. Al Greger. Andrew Erickson, controller.
Tim McGowan.
Chad Brown.
Angela Davis. Gail Marnhead.
Great. So Brent's not in the room?
And yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you. You cut out, I think, there a little bit. Great. Okay, we got full attendance. Well, while we're on roll call here, before we go any further, I just want to say that I'm sorry to hear Shelley is leaving the board. We all understand why, and certainly wish her well and her husband, she and her husband well down in Arizona. So we'll miss you, Shelley.
Thank you. I'm going to miss you guys. It's been a great opportunity to start when I did and to see where we are now and work with the senior leadership and the board to get here. So
Yes.
thank you all.
Well, we're hopefully you'll be around for a couple more meetings here, so we can't kick you out yet. Approval of the agenda, Shelley, Brent.
I move we approve the agenda.
second.
Okay, we'll call that approved. Is there anybody in the room or online for public participation? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Approval of the October 10th, 2025 minutes. Do I have a motion for that?
I move that we approve the October 10th, 2025 minutes.
Thank you,
I
Brent.
second.
Okie dokie. And item 6 is our 2025 financial statement review. Angela. Oh,
Thank you.
excuse me, before we go on, I'm sorry. I'm back on approval of the agenda. I actually have a change to the agenda that I'd like to make, if it's okay with everybody. After item 7, I'd like to add a new number 8 for the update on housing. Joe's going to give that to us, and so if assuming no objection from Brent or Shelley, we'll consider that change made. Okay, now it's off to you there, Angela.
Thank you, Chair. So let me begin today with speaking about Wildflower Court. This is the most meaningful shift in our financial picture for the month of September and October. The state approved our exceptional relief request, increasing Wildflower Court's Medicaid rate from $552.87 to $634.92. It is an $82.05 increase per person per day rate. The increase is effective October 13th. It will not be retroactive before that date. The change provides approximately $1.05 million in increased reimbursement based on the 82% average population of Medicaid patients at Wildflower Court. That is for the remainder of the year. So we will have that delta at the beginning of the year, July, August, September, and half of October, and then pick up that additional revenue. What that means to us is it will bring Wildflower Court near break even in operations once we do our cost allocations and contractuals. Any questions on that?
Could you just provide, I mean, the letter is in the packet, and maybe we don't need to because the letter is in the packet. We'll touch on that again here during the agenda, but I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that this rate is less than what we had asked for, right?
It is substantially less. The $634.92 is, almost $300 less than our original submission. The state felt that there was a significant amount of operating profit even after allocation. And so this is where the rate was set going into the bridge year before we start our rebase based off of fiscal year 25 cost report.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
We still experience some downward pressure due to the lack of reinstatement of rural health demonstration project. As we discussed last month, this is approximately 350,000 a month or 4.2 million a year that ended in April of 25 and has not been renewed. Everyone on the staff continues to work with legislators towards an extension. And we have not received any updates on that as yet. Turning to broader organizational operations, September delivered another strong month. Gross pace. Well, now I can't talk. Gross patient revenues, say that 3 times fast, was reached 26.9 million, up 18.9% to budget, with inpatient, med-surg, mental health unit, and CCU, and sustained strength in outpatient volumes. The net operating revenue ended at 14.9, well above our 13-month trend line. And we closed the month with a $928,000 net gain. This performance continues to demonstrate that our outpatient expansion and our physician services strategy is contributing meaningful to our operational margin. Expenses, salaries, and wages, and contract labor remain elevated but expected, driven by anesthesia, psychiatric emergency services, and onboarding for family medicine, as well as the increases in the other areas. Even with these pressures, our year-to-date performance remains aligned with our full-year goals. From a balance sheet perspective, cash did decrease just under 36 million, and that was primarily due to the timing of collections. That timing is being caught up in October. So we saw that, or was started to, now in November, started to right size in October. Interestingly enough, we had the same pattern in September of the prior year. So what does this mean heading into the next quarter, or as we move through second quarter? We now have a materially improved financial footing due to the Wildflower Court approved rate, and that increases and restores stability to a previously what would have been underfunded service line. Hospital room operations continue to demonstrate strong revenue performance, and our expense trends, while elevated, remain manageable and predictable. With audit and cost report work wrapping up in the coming weeks, we enter Q2 with clearer visibility, stronger reimbursement, and the momentum to achieve our fiscal year 26 budget. Any questions on that?
Committee, Shelley or Brent? Just a couple of things that I want to kind of touch on here. I've got 3 or 4 items, but let's start with the rural demonstration. We're not hearing anything. There's no movement on that at all.
Not that I'm aware of. I'll defer to Joe.
The last time I talked to the representatives or Sarah Bell Berkmeyer, they felt like the senators from Wyoming were the best candidates to move it forward. But there was a hospital in Nebraska, I believe. Was it Nebraska Hospital?
Yeah, Columbus Community Hospital.
Yeah, the hospital in Nebraska reached out. They're trying to get a group of hospitals together to push from various angles, trying to move this forward. And the last indication was that they felt it would get passed with the December package. They got that up and going, and hopefully retro back. But you remember, Max, when they did the last, well, I can tell you when I was here in 18, when it was renewed in 17, it was almost a full year before they actually did the extension. They retro back the full year.
Yeah, I think it was old Bernie, what's his name, from New Hampshire that held it up last time. But yeah, I know it took a long time. So that's good. I kind of wonder if it's good to have regular ongoing contact with Sarah about this. just to keep it on her hot list, or is that not necessary, do you think?
Well, I was actually, over the last 45 days with the federal government being closed, I haven't been pushed on it real hard because I knew nothing was gonna come of it. So now
Yeah.
that they're reopened as of Wednesday.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good point. Yeah, okay, great. That's great. And then also we have the CBJ lobbyist who might be some use here too. Have you talked to city manager's office about that?
I have not at this point.
Okay. Okay.
I will
the
say
next,
that our
yeah.
city, CBJ, Katie Kester, is going to DC in January. And I let her know at our meeting today, if we haven't got resolution in the December meeting, that they'll bring something forward.
Oh,
I've
okay,
been working with her from that side.
great. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. So the next thing I want to touch on is just kind of the new normal and net patient service revenue that we're seeing here. And, there's some offsetting costs as well, but when you look at line 17, you see a pretty darn good improvement over a prior year, and then also compared to budget on the revenue side. And there's some corresponding offset to that in salaries, expense, and so forth, materials and supplies. But Angela and or Joe, if you could talk to that, I mean, is this something that we're going to expect to see through the remainder of this fiscal year, this kind of general improvement, excluding Wildflower Court, but I mean, just the general improvement in revenue due to all the, the clinic, especially activity we have going on?
I would say that clinic revenue is gonna stay consistent through at least October when we looked at it. You will see a notable decline in the inpatient revenue when we hit October. So we saw our census, I won't say plummet, but it plummeted. So it was down across the board. Med-Surg, CCU, OB, and MHU were all had low censuses.
Okay.
And so I would say on the outpatient side, where we have more of a steady, revenue, but it's not dictated by admissions. Yes.
Yeah, but we also in September, we have ortho in there, don't we?
We had to work over there.
And that's outpatient, right?
Well, yeah, so a lot of the surgeries Dr. Welber is doing, he's doing the anterior approach, so they're outpatient total hips.
Yeah.
So a lot of our surgeries are going to the inpatient.
And his volumes have been strong, haven't they, Joe?
We do 6 or 7 in September. So yeah, he's been when he's here, he's exceptionally busy.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay, that's great. I guess I won't get into line 14 and 15 too much, other than to say that, we did have those amounts are quite a bit lower. And why don't you talk about, actual versus an accrual base on those, Angela, just briefly, kind of what we have in there and what the plan is there.
Sure. So charity care and bad debt expense are currently being reported as actual. There is no estimated reserve being booked in that particular bucket. It's more lumped into the total contractual allowance. And so future state, we do expect to have a reserve bucketed in there. So we have bad debt reserve as well as contractual reserve. So we'll be splitting it out a little more granularity. So it's just a little more of a stable line instead of a large fluctuation if a major write-off due to bad debt. Someone's deceased and has no estate, that kind of event where there's absolutely no recourse for collection. The reason for that being is the guidance under GASB continues to become a little more aligned to what some of the FASB regulation is, and what FASB went through about 3 or 4 years ago was a ASC 606, which is one of the largest changes in over 20 years. And it's really making sure that you have bad debt and contractual discounts and allowances segregated out in a very defined manner. So we'll see some of those changes come through as we continue to improve our clarity and transparency in the financials.
Great. That's great. Thank you. And And then the last thing I just wanted to touch on was home health and hospice, and mostly on the hospice side. And I'm probably catching a little bit off guard here, Angela, on this one. I should have brought that up when we spoke earlier. But the revenue on the hospice side was considerably below our budget in our prior year. And revenue was okay on home care, but we had quite a bit higher salaries expense. And could you talk about, I guess, first on home health, kind of the higher, if you're prepared to, and if you're not, you can follow up with an email, but especially on the salary expense on home health, and then on hospice, on the why revenue is below prior year budget.
So,
Can speak to some of it.
it's a twofold issue. So if Kim wants to speak to the first piece and then I can take the second.
Sure.
Great,
Um,
thank you.
I think that when you're seeing this increase, it's related, although contract labor looks like it's carved out. But we're using quite a bit of contract labor in there currently to staff it. And that includes physical therapists, nursing staff, and some interim leadership in that department currently.
And the second piece of that from a revenue perspective is we are having some challenges with the external billing company that is handling home health and hospice billing. And we are working on getting our coders OASIS certified so we can bring that billing in-house and have better controls over it and ensure the timeliness of it.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't even realize you guys were working on that front. I'm happy to hear that. The outside billers are so, as you know, or can be just problematic, just trying to keep them, on task can be a problem. So when will that happen, Angela? What's your timing expectation there?
It'll take a while for the coders to become certified and to transition that. So we are anticipating in the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, go on. That's all I had.
Ask one other question, Max.
Yeah, go ahead, Brent.
Just under expenditures, I was looking at previously the maintenance or materials and supplies being roughly $400,000 over budget. And that was addressed a little bit in the report about there being purchasing the expungables from the previous $400,000 for expungables just seems high. Was there any equipment purchased with that, or?
It was not. It was primarily in OR implants of $176,000. And then there was a good chunk of pharmacy, primarily with infusion pharmacy. They have been exceeding their hours significantly over what we'd anticipated.
Was the pharmacy and medicine numbers in there though too?
Yes.
And that was 280?
The expungables was, just one moment, I wrote it down. The expungables were 115,000.
There was a bunch of, that's outside the equipment. The equipment was-
Right. That was pure inventory that would be utilized within the clinic.
which included supplies. Probably little 650 pieces of it.
Thank you.
Okay, anything more on item 6? Okay, item 7, you kind of touched on that. Anything you want to add on the exceptional relief, Angela, besides what we discussed before?
I believe we covered it, unless there are any questions.
I didn't have anything further on that. It is disappointing, but it is what it is. And, the one thing that you touched on that in your letter, or in your report, but they didn't make it retroactive, which is also kind of interesting because that's so standard to do that. And so it's notable that they decided to leave that out, but it is what it is. So, Okay, the new number 8, which is housing. Joe, can you kind of give us an update on where we are with Bartlett Foundation and the various efforts there?
Yeah, so we did receive a preliminary set of drawings from Wayne Jensen. So he had sent those over to Melissa with the thought that, or next steps being that he was gonna go back and verify setbacks from the road, verify setbacks from the property line, and start working on a more detailed set of drawings. So his initial set showed roughly 6 additional rooms that would be able to fit within the property lines that he had estimated. And so we were waiting on Wayne to reply from that side. So I did reach out to Melissa and see if she could push on him. She said she was giving him a phone call today. And so I anticipate that he'll have something for the board in the coming weeks.
Okay. And are we effectively funding that through assistance to the foundation, or how's that happening? How's Wayne getting paid?
That would be assistance to us. She does have some funds on her side that she thought she could use. So when it comes up, when we get to that point, I'll bring it to the board. If it's within my authority, I'll just push it forward.
Yeah. And could you also just touch on the federal grant that's a potential for helping to fund this?
Yeah, so in the Rural Health Transformation Program that the state had submitted, there were several sections specific to housing and employee housing. And so we feel that this project could align pretty closely with that. The unknown being is they didn't want to fund new construction. So would this be an expansion, renovation? Is there a way to slide it into the federal rules? That's something we don't know at this point. We've been able to use the funds to renovate the current Bartlett house and have to fund the additional, but there's still hope there, I'd say.
Yeah, and speaking of the renovation, are there things that could be done at the, like kitchens and that type of thing to make them more useful for us and for the foundation?
Potentially, some of them are set up just as rooms because they do have that common space kitchen.
Yeah.
So they're not really set up with the plumbing and stuff to accommodate the smaller kitchenettes, but it's something we can look at with Wayne. I'm hoping we have that rural health transformation back from the feds by the end of December. Irregardless of that, the state will have roughly $100 million to figure out how to spend over the next 5 years, each year.
Yeah. And leased facilities too, or leased housing, Joe, you've made some progress there, haven't you?
We've added, one more unit? I think we've added 2 additional units since our first discussion, both multi-bedroom units. Yes.
And we have, for this year, we have leads on a couple of their opportunities as well.
So what's the total number, Joe?
We got 6 beds, maybe between the 2.
6,
Yes.
okay. And with a possible 2 more, right, Chad?
Yeah,
Okay. So, okay, so that's progress. Is it still an acute shortage, or how do you kind of characterize where you are in terms of your housing needs?
it's as you know, it's seasonal. So this is the time when there are properties available. So people that are moving up here are having easier time securing long-term housing. Travelers are having an easier time. The putting people into hotels is actually a fairly affordable option comparatively to summer. So again, it'll get really robust again in the spring when we still have the legislature here and the tourism staff coming in. That's when it becomes really acute.
Yeah. So these 8 units that we're tying up are long-term, right? I mean, they'll be available to us in the spring. Is that right, Chad?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. But last year you ended up, what was the number of staff that I remember was quoted at one of our meetings, that a number of people that declined offers because they couldn't find housing? Wasn't it around 15 or something like that?
Yeah, I recall a dozen off the top of my head, but like I didn't put names to faces. But yeah, it was close to 15.
Yeah. So Joe, do you have a target in terms of what you want to get kind of wrapped up?
Well, we initially discussed this. We talked about, I think it was 8 is what we were shooting for.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, through the chair, that has potentially altered, because we've worked with, Dr. Teener as far as the residency program, and he's confident that he can have a resident here basically at all times. But that would require an individual sole unit. So there are some other things that can continue to depend as our workforce development programs continue to grow. We just had a couple of staff out over at Columbia University and have an opportunity. They met 3 master's trained RNs that are looking to do clinicals back here. 4. 2 have direct ties with Juneau. 1 has a direct tie to Sitka, and the other one has a direct tie to Anchorage. And so they would love to come back with their clinicals, but then we have to find 6-week rotational spots for those folks as well if we want to get them to come here and do their clinicals. But again, master's trained nurses coming back to Juneau is a huge win for us. And so again, we have to determine, where we're going to prioritize contract level staff versus residents versus these workforce development folks.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Anything further on housing, Joe?
Not at this point.
I'd like to add this as a standing agenda item for the foreseeable future for finance so that we can continue to track this. It's in my business, we really have some challenges as well. I know that there are a lot of businesses out there working to try to further tie up housing that would be potentially available to us. And so I think we need to continue to be, I'm not sure aggressive is the right word, but certainly intentional about, developing our suite of housing so that we don't lose staff to that going forward. So I'd like an update about how we're doing on on Bartlett Foundation. And then as part of that agenda item, and then just kind of a catch-all on leases or things like what Chad touched on, but other developments and things for the committee to be aware of to potentially take to the full board. Does that sound like something workable to you, Angela and Joe?
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Great. Okay, next one is employee health contributions. Angela?
Yes, thank you. We received notification from the city that we were not recording we were not reserving for the employee health benefit discount. So when our employees participate in wellness events, they get a $50 credit towards their health insurance. And evidently that had, am I saying that wrong? You're right.
$50 per month.
$50 per month per employee
Yeah.
health and benefit discount against their health insurance. And that was not being recorded and booked on our side. So we were given the numbers for those. Evidently, this does go back to fiscal year 2022. However, they provided amnesty for a couple years. So what we have now had to record in fiscal year 25 is for 2 years, fiscal year 24 and 25, and then catch up for 26. And that will be shown in the restated financials once we finish audit. So that total was 614,000.
Wow. Okay. And that's the total catch up for it?
It is, yes, with the bulk of that being in fiscal year 24, 25, booked in 25, and about 50,000 of that being booked in fiscal year 26, which we will restate with the full restatements of the financials.
Okay. Great. Any questions
I'm
about
doing
that?
okay. And about you taking off today? No, you're not gonna go. I'm sorry.
Okay. There we go. Anything further on that?
No.
Okay, the Philips and Teleview monitor, Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is an action item memo for the Finance Committee. We have IntelliView MX 450 monitors in our surgical services area, PACU, and our operating room that need to be replaced. Their end of life was 2022. This came to light to me about 6 months ago that they needed to be replaced. They're unable to have the operating system supported anymore. So we'll need to change those out. In addition, there's modules that go with them, and it was identified that some modules in CCU and ED also need to be replaced. So the total amount that you see on this request is to replace all of the the monitors in same-day care, to replace them in PACU and to have an extra one for our endo room, and then also for the modules that are needed for CCU and ED's current monitors. My request is that the finance committee move this to the full board for final approval, and not to exceed the amount of $400,000. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Brenner, are any questions out there? Kelly?
I guess I have a question related to how these projects come to us. It seems like we're getting more frequent requests for equipment that has been outdated. And is there anything that's in the budget so that we would know for the year what we might be looking at? And then as it's, it's processed for the year, it comes to us.
Currently, sorry, through the chair, we are working on a process to try to, when we get new equipment in, finding out when the kind of estimated end of life is, and then we can forward that on. And so it's covered, so we can have those requests in our capital requests moving forward. So that's how we're moving currently. Right now, it's a little spotty with what is end of lifing, but we are really trying to work with Facilities Biomed and our directors to make sure that they're assessing their equipment, looking at what the needs are over wants when capital time comes.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and there's kind of a tie into that. It's a great question, Shelley. And the tie into that is also kind of the board process on this. I mean, and Deb, I'll look to you as well, but shouldn't these go through planning first and then come to finance committee? Or is, it jumped out of my head again, Angela, the one we were discussing this morning that we had the emergency replacement for here not too long ago. And we talked about these, the taking them through the proper committee process. And I just want to make sure we're being consistent with what we think that process should be. What do you think, Deb?
That items like this should go through planning to start out with. But as I'm sitting here listening and having read through this, and the question about what's the process, this because it's a hospital-wide issue. It comes up in different departments and not necessarily, as you're working through the process, is this a good candidate for an A3 look at this particular process that brings in all the folks who are will be involved with analyzing their capital needs and coming up with an annual process. I don't know, Joe, you want to weigh in on that? Because this is not necessarily a new thing we go through. We have gone through this cyclically in my tenure on the board, where there's a flurry of things that are greater and smaller in their capital requirements for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I appreciate you bringing up the A3 model, Deb. I agree that this is something we could run through that. It is a known problem. We've discussed at the SLT level extensively over the last 2 months because there's multiple items that's fallen into this. For this particular one, like pieces of it were caught in the capital budget. I think we had 150 total budgeted, close to. So like parts of it were known, but we missed some of the module pieces that kind of drove the cost above the threshold. But overall, we are missing things. We have to get a systematic way to track items. When we did a walk through the OR, we had a good lengthy conversation with maintenance and the directors about how we track these things in the future. But bringing a bigger team together is a good idea, Deb. I appreciate that. And I think that's something that we can action.
And if I may,
And I was just going to say, I just want to reiterate that I agree that it should go through planning as for us to get the broader picture as well. So, and I'm done now.
if I may, Max, through the chair.
Sure.
So unfortunately, this information, it was a little bit muddy trying to get the exact number of monitors and what exactly was needed to try to avoid having multiple quotes come in for different areas that use the same monitors. And so we received this final quote with everything lined up so we could present it on November 7th to be able to get this information in. Prior to that, it was decided not to do a planning committee in November. And so that's why this particular item did not go through planning for this.
Got it. Okay, so that was original. So it was more because of the cancellation of the meeting is why we didn't do that. Okay. And
I hesitate, sorry, sir, I hesitate to wait on this process. There is some lead time that'll take to get the monitors here. And I'm concerned, it is a patient safety issue. Agreeable that we need to be tracking these better, but I worry about the delay in process of getting Zord installed from a safety aspect.
Okay, thank you. Kim, I want to ask you a question too. If Kenny Solomon Gross was on this call, what would he say about, or what would he ask you about the amount that you're requesting?
He's gonna ask me if it's enough.
Yeah.
So, yes, gonna ask, I did. put
That's
some
what he'll
thought
ask
into
on
this.
Tuesday night, so I'm beating him to it.
Yeah. So the final purchase price that they quoted was $392,022.96, which is why they have guaranteed me, now they are salespeople, they have guaranteed me that it should not go over that that quote amount, which is why I'm requesting 400,000, not to exceed 400,000 to catch any little incidentals that might pop in that we're not expecting.
Okay. All right.
Does that include shipping, did you say?
I believe shipping is included on this.
So that's all in. Okay, so that'll be our response to Kenny when he brings it up on Tuesday. So. All right, so there's a motion. Can I get either Brent or Shelley to give us a motion if you see clear to it?
I move the finance committee of Bartlett Regional Hospital to approve the replacement of IntelliVue MX 450 monitors for surgical services and MMX and tidal CO2 modules for the CCU and ED not to exceed 400,000 and move it to the full board of directors.
Shelley,
And
did you second?
I did.
Okay, great. Okay, that's taken care of. Committee comments and questions. Let's start with Shelley. Anything, Shelley?
No, it's just been such a pleasure to work on this committee with you guys. Thank you.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to work with you, Shelley, as well. And it was pretty I would say it was rough and tumble there the first couple of years. You and I got on the board about pretty close to the same time, and it sure is nice to have these meetings versus the ones we had for a couple of years there. So
It is.
You will be missed. Now, do you have a hard and fast drop dead of December 31, or are you going to be able to stay on if the assembly takes a little bit longer to get an appointment made?
I can stay on. I'll just be doing video conference.
Sure. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Brent, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to say that I appreciate the financial report, Angela. I think we've got, I think it's a good report. Once we get the allocations, we'll have to take another cut at just the kind of the detail that we're getting here and the way it's being presented and stuff. But I feel like that this is good. Are you anticipating any further changes into the way you want to present stuff, Angela?
I think we can always fine tune and hone in, and if I may take the liberty now that Andrew is on board with us. He may have a different perspective as we hone in on some of these things as well. But there'll be a continual improvement to clarity and transparency, but I think we've made good progress.
Will we get to see some new departmental level reporting once all those things are set up and in place? I think it'd be useful to have it more than just wildfire court, hospice, and home health.
Absolutely. So the goal is to have all of the departments segmented out, and reported on, and then rolled up to the consolidated so you can see the full picture.
Fabulous.
Perfect.
Andrew, welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to be here.
Yeah, good. Well, hopefully you'll have some sunny days down there, up there. So that'd be nice. And you've got a place to live, so that's good.
That's a start.
You came at the right time of year, according to Chad. So that's good. So great. Well, welcome, and we look forward to working with you. So, all right, that's the end of our agenda, and therefore the end of our meeting. It's 2:41. We'll call this done. I'm sorry, 12:41. We'll call the meeting done. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. See you next week.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Download.